What do they call it? The Nelson ratings?
What?
Damn it, TiVo.
Nielsen ratings. Hey there, beer tubers. Welcome back to Beer Analysis 101 with your host, Maxwell Starr. Here on a lovely evening tonight, and going to take a look at a nice, clean, refreshing beer. That's the champagne of beers. We're going to do Miller High Life tonight. Before we get started, let's introduce everybody on the panel, starting with one person who's actually got a really nice view from his, I'm assuming, back deck. How you doing tonight, Matt of Massive Beer Reviews?
Me? Oh, yeah. I'm doing pretty good. Hanging out outside. Doesn't suck. Probably gonna rain, lightning will strike, I'll die, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't see a huge storm clouds in the horizon or anything. It's just nice. Anyway, all right. The next one here is we got the first time on the panel. We've got Ewart, formerly of Strange Bruisings, Teku Murray. How you doing tonight, Mr. E?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
No problem. Thanks for coming on. And moving right along, we've got Chris of On the 10th Beer Reviews, and of course, Chris Lezak Photography. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm good, thanks. I'm going to follow all the BC, GCP, ABCD rules today, and we're going to have a good fucking analysis. Looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Exactly, got to be all professional and conform to BJCP guidelines. Anyway, moving right along. Speaking of professional, the most professional on this panel of to date, we've got Greg. How you doing tonight, Greg?
I'm doing great, Nick. Looking forward to drinking this professional adult beverage, and I will be rating it on a scale of 1 to champagne.
1 to champagne? You're going to be rating it as the champagne of beers?
I will be rating against other champagnes, other high-end champagnes of which I've consumed, which is none.
I don't think I've ever had a real champagne before, but I've had, the style. Anyway, whatever. That's getting off topic. I mean, why do they even call this the champagne of beers? Maybe I should go into the beer history. All right, so beer history, Miller High Life. We won't go into too much brewery detail, as we've previously looked at Miller on our MGD analysis. We did a couple months ago, which was a bit of a surprise. But Miller Brewing was founded in 1855 by Frederick Miller in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Miller High Life, on the other hand, is a 4.7% ABV American object lager. I think it's 4.6 in the States. I might be able to check your bottles. In the same league as Budweiser and Coors Banquet. Introduced as Miller's flagship beer in 1903, it is brewed with a proprietary blend of malts and Galena hops from the U.S. Pacific Northwest. Galena hops are the proprietary hop strain that was developed by Miller that is resistant to being light-struck, according to their marketing material. Anyway, Miller High Life is notable that at the time that the beer was introduced, the practice of bottling the beer was not yet commonplace, as most beer was consumed in taverns or brought home in metal or wood pails, or various other forms of early growlers. Miller High Life was introduced on New Year's Eve 1903 in clear glass bottles to showcase the beer's clarity, with long necks that were deliberately modeled to look like champagne bottles. In the early days, the bottles of Miller High Life were also topped with an ornate foil covering around the cap, and much of the marketing surrounded Miller High Life pitched it as the luxury beer, with the tagline, the champagne of bottled beers. So they've been doing this since the beginning. When Miller Brewing Co. was acquired by Philip Morris in 1969, Miller High Life was given a rebrand as an everyman's beer. So it went from what do you call white collar to blue collar, with the famous It's Miller Time marketing campaign, which led to a fourfold increase of sales of Miller High Life throughout the 70s. Recently, in 2016, after slumping sales, Miller returned to their famous Miller Time ad campaign, which has led to a resurgence for the beer. Miller is, of course, also famous for beers like Miller Genuine Draft, Miller 64, and Miller Fortune, amongst others that I didn't care to look up. Anyway, let's move over to the comments here. Chris, are you going to read those tonight?
Jesus, Nick.
No? Who wants to read the comments of the Greg?
I just want to throw it in there that my ship blew up like a champagne bottle, and I don't know why, because it didn't shake it. So.
Exactly.
I think. Who wants to read the comments? I don't.
I don't have the ability to.
Well,
I
guess
Nick.
I can read my own comments here. So who we got in the chat here? Okay, so Kent Beer Reviews says hello, fellows. Hi, Kent or Craig. How you doing tonight? Lee Russell says hide the stingo. Drama may ensue. Yes, we're aware of that. We'll talk about that in the after chat. Let's see. Do you any of you homebrew? I can't take this seriously. No, no credibility. All right, so Ethan says I'm not even going to repeat that. Okay, so no, but we do sell whiskey books. Okay, they're getting on trolling
Nick,
comments.
You are the worst comment reader we have.
I'm just trying not to read everything because it's unprofessional to read some of this stuff that the people are posting. Thanks, guys. Anyway, let's move right along to personal histories with Miller High Life. Let's start with Matt, of course, on everybody's left.
Honestly, man, my history with this is I think I talked about this. I forget what I talked about what beer we did previous to this, and I might have said the same thing. This is drinking beers off my uncle's and my dad's tables when I was a little kid. You know what I mean? That's what I remember. You know what I mean? I drank it in high school for a hot minute, thinking that was cool shit. Because it was like high end in my brain when, you're 16 and 17 and stealing it from people's, refrigerators and stuff like that. But, it was growing up, my dad fixing his car but even elevated more than that. It was more like kind of like parties and stuff like that they'd have and kind of sneaking a sip off of stuff and then drinking it in high school. And honestly, I've had it several times at random places when you cannot get beer. And I've never been like, fuck, this sucks. It's always done me proper. So.
Nice. It's one of those beers you kind of grew up with. It's always been synonymous with your first impressions of beer. Yeah.
Yeah, that and also I genuinely enjoy it.
Very well. And moving over to Ewart, what's your history with Miller High Life? Do you have any?
No. No. Okay, I'll add to that. No, just teasing. No memorable history. When I was younger, it was Carlsberg, it was Foster's, and then there's a period where my dad was drinking Genuine Draft. So I have some familiarity with Miller, and I thought it was cool. It was a nice package for Miller Genuine Draft, clear bottle, looked like a NASCAR thing, and I think it was probably on NASCAR hoods. But the High Life may have crawled into the fridge once or twice over the years, my dad's fridge, and I may have had one or two. But honestly, they're very lackluster and not memorable. I was just probably trying to sneak a beer or whatever, just crush one. Didn't think much about it at the time. So I'd say I have no history, really. Nothing worth mentioning. Sorry to disappoint.
No, that's fine. Chris, what's your history of Miller High Life? Do you even have any?
To be
I think it's fairly new in Canada.
Well, I guess fairly new, but I don't really have much of a history like Europe. But I mean, everyone's had this before. My most memorable experience of having this is not really memorable, but just going into the States, like driving down with my buddy down to South Carolina, hopping into any corner store or any gas station and picking up a 12-pack for like $6.99 or whatever it is down there, and then drinking those for the whole week. So I don't mind it. It's my go-to beer in the States if I have nothing else to do or nothing else to drink. Then I'll get this over the other adjuncts anyway, because it's the champagne and beers, baby. And I'll drink it.
Nice. Yeah, like American go-to. Anyway, Greg, what's your history with Miller High Life? You have one.
I have absolutely no history. This isn't something that I've ever had at a wedding, although it is something I'd expect for a wedding beer. And I've also had MGD just because I want to be popular. That's it. Goodbye.
I will add to just quickly. Now that I'm remembering, the only times I've ever seen this or had this was when there were these mega cans that my dad would buy when he worked in Detroit. Because Nick, you mentioned not in Canada. I'm like, trying to think back. It was probably in high school when we moved down to Windsor, and my dad worked in the U.S. That the mega cans. Well, at least they seemed mega at the time. They're probably just regular size or regular king cans now. But I don't know. And God, probably some shady liquor store in South Detroit.
Gas station.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, it does strike me as the kind of. In fact, I think I've even seen it in like big cans at the gas stations in like Calais, Maine, or something like that. But my personal history with this is I never had it up before up until I bought a 12-pack of it a couple months ago. back when, and I think it's around the first time that it's recently been introduced. I'm not sure if it's recently been introduced to the entire country of Canada, but excuse me, it was recently introduced here to New Brunswick as a budget beer. Like it's for a 12-pack of this in Canada, it's like $22, which is actually really quite cheap when you can for that many beers. Like when you consider like Moosehead or Budweiser or something is 26. So it's a very affordable budget beer. But one of the things I always thought of it, like drinking it, is like I drank can after can after I first bought it because I wanted to try it and I was curious and wanted something a little sessionable, and I ended up really liking this because it was just an easy drinking go-to beer. I mean, it's not like phenomenal in flavor or anything, but it was one that goes down super easy. And so my history is I've actually really liked this beer, but I mean, I'm not going to tell you it's anything special. It's no MGD, but anyway.
Wait, Nick, before you continue, let me add on. When MGD first came to Ontario in the beer stores, they did release it in a brown bottle. Way back when it first came over from
Miller High Life
brown bottle, and then after they went to the clear bottle and cans. So
MGD or Miller High Life?
Sorry, High Life.
Okay, I mean MGD's been here for decades, but
High Life. Yeah, that's what I
yeah. Right on. All right, so let's go over to the comments to see if there's anything worth reading. I'll cut off where Easton was talking about Dr. Dave. Chris on the 10th says this has the potential to kick MGD's ass. Grant Beer Review says on the 10th has High Life. Yeah, we all do. PA Bruno says I saw a can of High Life today. That was close enough for me. Of course. Beer Review says, hey, Paul. PA Bruno says right next to some high-class Steel Reserve. Oh, man. Should have got the Steel Reserve. Only MGD for life anyway. Yeah, some fun comments from the Peanut Gallery. All right. Let's move into, I guess, personal history, see what everybody thinks. And are you shaking your head, Chris?
Yeah, it's not personal history. It's actually our views on it.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, I'm pulling in Jamie again.
Yeah, just don't skip anyone this week, okay?
Yeah. All right, let's go into final thoughts. Not final thoughts, but like personal opinions. Let's go over to Matt first, where he's losing his daylight quickly.
I get lights. I have lights, so I'm good. I actually really enjoy the beer, to be perfectly honest with you. Again, like to kind of echo what you said, Nick, it's not going to set the world on fire. It's not something you can sit there and gush over. It's more utilitarian than anything, but at the same time, there's some redeeming qualities to it. You know what I mean? A lot of like macro beers, lagers or pilsners, whatever, usually have this kind of dirty funkiness to it that kind of makes my like stomach not sour, but kind of meh. This lacks that, and probably the biggest thing about this, while it does have that kind of like sweet kind of little bit corny thing to it, it's not overpowering, but it has this really soft feel on the palate, like it's super duper soft. And that just to me lends to you talking about chugging it like crazy and being able to drink it. So as far as ratings go, I mean, what am I doing again? Is it rating the style and rating personal enjoyment?
Style of American Adjunct Lager, where do you think it sits out of 10? And then your personal rating.
American Adjunct Lager out of 10, I would probably give it for that rating, I would give it like a 9 and change. And for personal enjoyment on a scale from 1 to 10, I'd probably give it like 6.5. And just for the sake of conversation, 4.6% in the United States.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, you even said it's 4.6 on my can. Where did I get 4.7 from? Anyway,
the internet lies. You got it from the BJCP catalog.
Yeah, I probably did get it from there. Anyway, I do want to note, though, I did notice that in Canada, Miller High Life is brewed by Molson, which I think I actually mentioned that in the MGD review. Anyway, moving right along, and that actually makes sense because I think Miller brands are all owned by Molson now since they bought Miller Saab.
Yeah, the Miller Coors takeover.
Miller Coors, now it's like, Miller Coors. Ewart, what's your thoughts on this?
I'll echo what Matt was saying. I'm surprised by it, to be honest with you. It's pleasant. And maybe that's just because when I was on vacation, that's all that was available to me were Euro lagers, Pilsners. So I have a bit of I'm not easily offended, I guess, anymore. Palate sort of been numbed somewhat, but it's very crushable, very easy. I wouldn't call it overly crisp, but it's an adjunct lager, so you're not going to get those nice malts in there that can give you some of that. Not crackery. And actually, it's not like water. It's got flavor, and it's surprising in a good way. So as an adjunct lager, I was thinking 8.5, 9 for sure to style. According to BJCP, of course. On a personal scale of 1 to 5 horn-rimmed glasses, I'm going to give it 3 ironic mustaches. So, speaking of which, I wanted to mention, I was telling Nick before, I'm taking some notes down. I'm thinking, what attracted me to coming onto this hangout today, just on a personal level, is the fact that this beer is getting so popular again. Hipsters are driving it.
It was me.
Yeah, Nick. Yeah, Greg is driving it. But people drink this without a shred of irony, and that sort of seems to be the wave now, which is very hipster, obviously. But God, I'm falling in, which is
dude. What are you saying? This word hipster. What is this?
I know. Well, look, sorry, I got my hat is relatively flat brimmed. I got my Cantillon shirt on, so I'm like, well.
Represent.
I'm being assimilated into what's that neighborhood in Brooklyn where they all love this stuff, right?
Williamsburg.
Yeah. So just like teleport me there right now, drinking this stuff. So I'm one of those guys. But yeah, it's cool actually. I'm glad I ventured out to do this, and this won't be the last time I have it. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, you bought a 6-pack.
Yeah, it won't be the last time I get more than that as well, I think.
So out of that 10 you were not giving you 6, like you said, if you had 3 horn-rimmed glasses out of 5, so
Yep.
6. So about 6, all right.
Yep.
All right. And speaking of horn-rimmed glasses, actually just more glasses at all. Let's go over to Chris.
Echoing what Matt was saying again, everyone's echoing each other. There's no aftertaste on this one. I actually quite enjoy the aftertaste on this. It's not like Matt said. It's not like a weird aftertaste like most adjunct lagers. This is super easy to drink when it's ice cold, and as it's warming up, it's still really easy to drink. There's good carbonation on this beer, and it's pretty smooth. So, with that being said, for style on the American Adjunct Lager, I'm giving it a 9 as well. And for overall, I quite like this, and this would probably replace the Coors Light. And if I keep finding it cheap like I did today, for overall, I'm giving an 8 out of 10 on this one. I quite like this. Thank you.
So very nice. And moving right over to Greg. Greg, what's your professional opinion?
That's good. It's an adjunct lager for sure. It still tastes like corn syrup to me, but it's not particularly offensive. It's, 7 for style and 6.5 for personal enjoyment. It's not bad.
Right on. Eloquently said, and I missed half of that. Sorry.
That's okay.
It's all right. Yeah, you know what? I'm happy I bought a 12-pack of that, and I'm happy that I saved a can for a beer analysis, the 101. And I'm thinking that I was tempted to do it tonight. I'm saving for a trip, and but I'm thinking I would buy this in a 12-pack again. The price is right, and the beer that you get out of it is actually quite easily drinkable, considering the price. It's I get it's bready with hints of caramel through it. It's almost like a little bit like toasted caramel corn. It's kind of like MGD is, but it's not nearly as sweet. It's a little bit maybe more watery than that. You get a mild hop note, like a mild herbal hop with a light pepperiness to it. But on top of that, above all else, one of the biggest things that I really like is the fact that it's so smooth and clean and easily drinkable and thirst quenching. It goes down so super easy. And in that, it's not like what I would call a phenomenal tasting beer. I just find it very, very easy to drink. And if I'm looking for something to session, this hits the mark. Overall, like for the style, I'm going to give it an 8.5 because it's hard to go wrong with this. or an American accent lager. Overall, 7 because I'd give it a 3.5 out of 5 for a rating. So it's easy to drink and it does what you need to do. You can do a whole lot worse. You can drink a Budweiser, for example. Anyway, let's go over to read some more comments because I know PA Brew News has been chatting it up in here. Let's see. After I have to steal reserve to Dr. Nick's macro apologist power hour. Fuck you, Paul. Hi, Greg. Oh, Clueless Drinker's in the chat. Hey, Peter, how you doing? And Rainy on Your Parade says, got a 12-ounce bottle, $5.99 for a 6-pack. Wow. Just cracked it, and it's going down pretty good. I think that's pretty much echoing the whole panel right now. Redbeard's in the chat. What be going down? Hey, Redbeard. Hope to see you around the after chat. PA Bruno says, I get Narragansett before this, $5.99 for 6-pounders. I've never had Narragansett. I'd probably tried it at your recommendation, but I've never had it. Lee says 9 for style and 7 for enjoyment. Perfectly acceptable macro swill. Well, you could have said that when we were online. PA Bruno says 11 out of 10. Langy's Innocent Gun lager rating. Yeah. And Radiant Parade, this is the only one of the better macro lagers. MGD was my favorite back in the day. I have not had High Life in many years, but would still rather have a Pabst or Narragansett. But this would be my next pick. I'm going to have to get myself a Narragansett at some point.
They're okay.
They're okay. I trust your opinion.
Where's that other family-owned brewery, the big one that sells a ton of stuff? Matt, you know this one. Throw it your way. What do you guys call it? It's a
Yuengling?
Yeah.
Yeah, Yuengling Lager?
Yeah. I'd like to see this go up against Yuengling and PBR in a showdown of hipster lagers.
I would drink this before... I would drink this before like a Pabst, but I would drink a Yuengling first.
Yeah, they're markedly different beers, but I get what you're talking about. Putting it up against like which one would rule the roost in the fucking on the fixie bike with the one leg pan up. Yeah, I can see this one doing that.
A lot of these beers are driven by trends and what's hip and just that sort of thing. It's not even driven by taste.
It's weird. The weirdest part about this beer, though. Sorry, Nick. Are we allowed to
go ahead. Go ahead. We're into the final thoughts now.
The weirdest part about this beer is they call it the champagne of beers, and it's nothing like champagne. I could never drink champagne like this. Like I could drink this beer. Like the champagne should be like I'm the fucking High Life of champagne. You know what I mean? Like
I'm the High Life of wines.
Of white wines. You know what I mean? Like it's totally not. It should be flipped. That's all I know. And it's like you know what it reminded me of? When you were talking, Nick, and how I thought about it. It's a potato chip. It's not going to blow you away. It's not going to do anything, but you just can't stop. Like you just want to keep going. You know
it's a beer equivalent to a bag of Lay's.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing. Like there's nothing wrong with a bag of Lay's. Just don't try to talk about Lay's being like high society craziness. You know.
Yeah. Well, Yuengling is probably arguably a bit more like Miss Vicky's of the potato chip world, but. I mean they're different beers, but it's getting into that whole thing about it's like trendy amongst the 20-somethings.
Hey, I'd also like to add though, if I can, sorry, Nick, I don't want to
Go
interrupt.
ahead.
The Brewmaster, by the way, gives us an 83, so it's an 8.3 out of 10. Yeah, just wanted to
share. So now that we have the Brewmaster, that means it's time to present Chris and the ratings.
Yay!
All right, present to Chris. Go ahead.
All right, so today's final scores are brought to you by Chet Mustang's YouTube channel.
Yay!
Say no to drugs. Like seriously, what the fuck? Like honestly, like
oh my god,
guys. Wow, what's going on with this kid? Anyway, so our final scores on the Miller High Life for style and overall enjoyment are as follows. We've got an 8.5 out of 10 for style.
That's pretty good.
Which kind of matches the Brewmaster. And then we've got for overall enjoyment a 6.70
And you know what?
Is this the highest one?
I don't think that matches MGD.
No, for overall enjoyment, we're below, I think, MGD. But
that's all because I brought
like
it down. I think if I didn't bring it down, I think it would have been pretty high.
Yeah, way to go, Greg. Way to fuck it up.
Yeah, well, it is what it is.
Say no to drugs.
Yeah, well, I think MGD was like 7.6 or something like that. I forget.
Yeah.
That's pretty close. It's not a bad showing considering it's two basic budget macro beers. Getting good ratings. And keep in mind, like when we rate something out of this style, we're rating it out of a pretty low end style.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was like rate beer ratings at that point.
Yeah, it just beats all the other ones in that category, which are arguably terrible for the most part, and undrinkable. This stands up above most things I can remember drinking in the last.
High Life, Natural Light.
You feel bad that
Big
lumped
Flats.
in with that crowd. That's how I feel going into it. Like you're almost like, oh, I feel bad for this beer being in that. You know what I mean? You wish it was in a different category.
If this was branded by a craft brewer and they said, "Oh, this is our whatever lager
or something,"
craft lager, I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't be like, it's fine. It's totally fine. I wouldn't say there's nothing. There's zero.
It would probably have higher ratings on Untappd if it did. If it was from a craft,
and there's nothing offensive about it.
No, it's well made for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We're not going to get into the Zymergy of it all, but
yeah, buddy.
Not all of us are gynecologists.
Yeah, I'm gonna propagate some of this Zymergy at the bottom and put it into some of my homebrew so I can get some credibility.
Tweet about it.
All right, so let's go to our last moment comments and anything left in there. Behavior Noose's Yuengling Wild American Ale. The least is the wildest of ales. Let's see. Lee says, I'd have to buy the fucking beer, to quote Charles Bronson, no dice. Yeah, right. I think maybe it's only available in 12 packs in Nova Scotia, isn't it?
I forgot at the bottom of my of the final scores there I had what did it say? We mentioned it just now. It said you can you mimosa this? No, you can't. Not mimosa.
I can't see it because of the people at the bottom are in the way.
It said that on the
bottom. You can't see the line. Anyway, at Rainy Onion Parade says we have talked about how they genetically engineer the hops so they won't skunk. Missed first couple minutes. Have we talked? Yeah, we did talk about that during the beer history, saying Galena hop is the one that they genetically engineered. Which genetically engineering generally means, it doesn't mean they test tube the shit out of this. It just means that they crossbred it with a bunch of different hops to minimize the light striking qualities of that. But I mean, there is some engineering, but it's like breeding a new breed of dog.
Thank you, Professor.
Maybe they should be called the engineer of beers.
The Zymergy. Anyway,
or the Masato beers or whatever it is.
What do they call the science of hops? You know, is there one? There's one for yeast, Zymergy. Apparently, is there one for hops?
It's called grown weed, and then
it's called
it is. It's hydroponics. I don't know.
Hydroponics.
It is hydroponics.
Hydroponics works for me. The Radiant Parade says, as it warms, it's showing some flaws. It's still drinkable though. Yeah, and that's another thing. Is warmed up. I mean, it's of course not as great, but it doesn't turn into complete shit garbage. Budweiser did.
Well, this is a beer that you don't let sit down and get warm anyway. You just go sessions and
so you're saying the champagne is better than the King?
Well, what I'm saying is that even if it did warm up, it's not nearly as bad. I sound like I'm sucking the beer's cock.
Drink your Miller High Life.
Drink your Miller High Life. Drink it warm. Whatever. Let's keep going. Let's go into the final thoughts. Anybody got any last minute opinions, thoughts, comments, whatever? Say it now. Otherwise, we're going to go offline and then start up a private chat.
What's the beer next week?
Oh, shit. I forgot to grab the can, but we're going to do what we said we were going to do last week. We're going to do it next week. We're going to do Hop City's Barking Squirrel. Finally going to do
next week. We'll feature Squirrel. Craig. Yay!
Because Craig couldn't make it this week, and he already bought the beer in the UK. So
he Brexited this week.
He Brexited. Yeah. Well, he's technically still in the UK. He's in London, I think.
But final thoughts for me, Nick, as I apparently like radiate into some being of light.
Biden is.
I don't know.
He's the albino rhino.
He's turning into an albino.
He's got
same person.
This is literally the Celestine prophecy. I don't know if you saw this when you're doing your research, but there was like an article. I forget what it was in one of the some online article about like what brewers drink. Do they drink shit beer? Do they drink crap beer? And there was an article, and there was like Yep from Evil Twin, and the guys from like there's a bunch of like bigger, newer breweries, and like there was probably about like maybe 15 different people they asked what beer they drink, and it was separate people. It wasn't like they were all colluding. And this is probably like 4 or 5 of those people. This is the beer that they said they drank. They're like, yeah, if I'm gonna drink something shitty, you know what I mean? I'm gonna drink fucking High Life because it's not shitty. It's just a good beer to chug. So it's kind of weird. It's like kind of what you were saying, kind of making a big comeback, but kind of some validation for you, I guess.
Yep.
Well, yeah, it's not absolute shit for what it is. It's a cheap to drunk, easy drinking beer. I find it's a lot. I would session this. I would session Miller Old Style, and I would session Moosehead's Lager just as easily as each other. It's just
I'm sessioning Black Tuesdays, so I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But...
All right, whatever. Session Black Tuesdays. Holy fuck! How many do you have in your cellar?
Just enough, baby.
Remember this year at the Beer Fest, Paul tried to put his sessioning Imperial Stouts to the test, and it worked for the evening. The next day, though, it ended up on the lawn.
Lee Russell says Matt has become powder. All right, I'm not repeating Paul's comments, so let's just finish this off. All right, so Barking Squirrel next week. I want to thank everybody for watching, everybody for commenting, anybody who's about to watch the replay. Thanks for watching all the way through to the end. And yeah, we all pretty much liked Miller High Life. For a budget beer, you can't go wrong. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll tune in a few minutes. We're gonna have a post analysis hangout. So thanks everybody for coming on. Thank you. Cheers. I said thank you enough.
Thank you, Miller Coors, for sending me my free 6-pack in order for me to give good reviews.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you posted a picture of you buying it. Anyway, all right.
I'm sending my receipt. That's how it goes.
I'm gonna hit stop broadcast this time instead of closing the window.
Thank you for Canada Club for making the best whiskey.